In the 17th century in Holland, the brothers Hemony first discovered how to tune bells so that they could be played as a musical instrument. Each of the 48 bells has been tuned to produce a different note on the musical scale. A traditional sound, a familiar ring throughout the lowlands. Most sizable towns in Holland and Belgium have a carillon. Sadly, some of these original Hemony bells in Delft have had to be renewed because of pollution damage. The replacements were made at the Royal Eijsenbouts Foundry in the traditional way, but the techniques have hardly changed since the 17th century. The shape of the bell makes a very complicated sound. When you strike it, the whole thing vibrates and produces a chord with up to 50 different overtones. The size and weight of the bell give the basic note, but after it's been cast, it then has to be finely tuned. The tones are adjusted by gradually grinding the bell to the precise thickness. That's constantly checked by measuring the tones produced from different parts of the bell as it vibrates. Fortunately for the tuner, he doesn't have to worry about all 50 overtones. As long as he gets the frequencies of the 5 most powerful into the correct scale, the bell will sound harmonious. Like this. Although it always has that slightly mournful sound. That's because it produces a minor chord, and the strong minor overtone lingers on longer than the others. Because of the bell shape, it seems that you can't alter the minor overtone without disrupting the correct ratios of the rest of the scale, making it sound dissonant. And neither the Hemony brothers nor any bell founder since has known how to make bells that would have a more cheerful sounding major overtone. For years it's been the ambition of the Eijsenbouts Foundry to be the first to create a set of bells each with a correct major chord. But a single large bell can cost £10,000. They can't afford to experiment with the shape. Now at last they've found a way of doing that without risking any costly casting errors by combining their own special skills with those of computer experts at Eindhoven University. Dr. Schoofs uses the latest computer technology to simulate the complicated way a bell vibrates when it's struck. Each mode of vibration produces a different tone. Normally, of course, they all happen at the same time, but separated out, this is the way the bell vibrates to produce the deepest hum tone. And the fundamental, the tone to which all others musically relate. This is the third interval above it, the tone that needs changing. And the next overtone is called the fifth. The problem is to change the minor third a semitone higher to major, without affecting the other frequencies. The computer can experiment with different bell shapes on the left of screen, and at the same time see how that affects the tonal scale, shown on the right. To make the correct ratio of a musical scale with a major third tone, the frequencies should all line up with the target arrows. Eventually, it evolved to this, a little taller and with a rather odd bulge in the middle. But before the Foundry went ahead with casting such a strange bell, they wanted to be sure that people would like the sound. So the Institute of Perception Research ran an experiment. By digitally altering just the third overtone, they've synthesized Carillon tunes with both the minor and major overtones. This is the minor. The test groups don't know which is which. They just state their preferences. And here's the major version. To some professional carillonneurs, it didn't sound like a real bell, but other musicians liked the clearer sound, and unqualified listeners liked it even more. So at last, the Foundry went ahead with casting, and the first successful prototype was presented to the university. Dr. Schoofs is happy with the new shape. And the sound. And the first full Carillon has just been inaugurated here in the small town of Danza in Belgium. Aimé Lambert, distinguished Carillonneur to the neighbouring city of Bruges, certainly has no doubts as to its fine quality.
A carillon of bells is played high above Aston in Holland. Not all listeners are satisfied with the result. The bell's sounds are often jarring. Even Gerard de Waardt's skill can't change a bell's ring. So in the town's famous bell foundry, there's a project underway to change the bell sounds. Sand and wax molds fix the shape of the molten bronze. Almost all sounds are made up of a recipe of pure tones. With a bell, we hear about 50. At the foundry, the 5 or so loudest tones of each bell are fine-tuned. The tuner uses a vibrating probe that makes the bell produce only 1 tone at a time. Normally, you wouldn't hear it alone. Another place on the bell brings out another pure tone. By trimming the bell in different areas, the tuner can finely adjust each component tone. The project scientist is the acoustic expert Adrian Houtsma. At Eindhoven University of Technology, he began by recording and analyzing the pure tone components of bell sounds.
First, let's listen to a bell as it was recorded.
The large peaks represent the 5 or 6 main tones. If you can change those, you can change the nature of the bell sound. This bell, with its odd computer-generated profile, is an attempt to do just that. With this, just one of the pure tone components is different.
First of all, I give you the normal traditional bell, the bell you will hear always in the churches.
The new bell has a sweeter, more harmonious sound. To make the new sound, they've had to change the large component in the middle. It's called the minor third. Adrian Houtsma electronically isolated that component.
Here it is, very strong, third component. It doesn't sound much like a bell, it sounds a little bit like a whistle.
Now it's played with its companion tones, giving the typical bell sound.
And now we are going to change this third to a major third and listen to it. Notice how it has moved up, while all the other components have remained the same. Back to the minor third. And a major third.
Just by altering one of the component tones, it was possible to change the sound of the bell completely. Pure tones are the building blocks of sound.